Oi, this is the Profanity Gnome, and I'm here to tell you that if you're under 13 years old, fuck off this video! Get the fuck off YouTube! Get your mama to get your dad's cock out of her ears and actually be a parent! This is for adults only! And for everybody else, enjoy the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below what you think, you fuck buckets! Is everything alright, young master gent? Yeah, I guess everything's alright. Are you certain? After all, this is fishing time, and this is when we can bond the most. Well, do you think I did the right thing by firing Surfer? I mean, I kinda just did it in the heat of the moment. I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do. I realize that you must feel bad for doing what you had to do. But it is something that had to be done. Throughout life, you will always be faced with decisions. Decisions that, whether you like it or not, need to be made. And no matter what decision you choose, you must stick with it. It can be possible to change your mind, or even regret the decisions you made, but they will have to be set as your decisions. And no matter what, you must live with the consequences of whatever decision you make. You can't be serious in taking us to My Little Pony! It looks like you have yet another tough decision to make. Yeah, do I. This is Animaniacs 2020, Episode 10. So the episode starts off with the Animaniacs Warner Brothers again. So, what are the wacky Warners up to today? Well, Wacko believes that by microwaving the remote, he will give the remote superpowers to travel through time. Okay, let's see where this plot heads us. I mean, it kind of feels like a useless superpower. I mean, we've already seen them hanging out with Marie Antoinette, and don't even get me started on the original series. But it does give the remote some kind of powers, being able to access TV shows from across the world. But when flicking through the channels, they discover a ripoff of their show. A very poorly made ripoff of their show. And confused, they discover that it's the Russians behind it. Which is pretty funny when you think about it, because it's usually Chinese that are ripping off American cartoons. And other people's stuff in general. But the Warners can't stand the idea that a outside source is not only taking their image, but is using it for political propaganda for Putin. I think there's a pot me kettle joke here, but I will save that for a Yakko meets a Wacko. But it gets worse. They soon discover that the Russians have been spying on them. And they've been stealing the scripts for their show. Not willing to put up with this, they decide to mail themselves to Russia to see who is the one responsible for this crappy reboot show, only to discover that a lot more has been ripped off than what they were led to believe. Yep, they take a tour through Russian Warner Studios, seeing a Pinky and the Brain ripoff as well. They storm into the Warner studio and discover it's shit. Like, it is really shit. Even the actors don't even really look like they want to be there. It's a miserable time. But I will give this. Two things that this Russian ripoff does right. The Animaniacs theme song, which surprisingly works with Russian. And they finally give us a Hello Nurse. Where has she been this season? Even in the episode where all the Warners from the old show got together, she was surprisingly absent. Even Dr. Scratch and Sniff got a brief cameo in that cutesy episode. But we haven't seen hide or tail of Hello Nurse. I just thought they did the Miss Bellum treatment and didn't even address her. But here they clearly show and say by name, by fucking name, Hello Nurse. This is the Russian ripoff of her. Which, to be fair, she's kind of hot in a weird dominatrix sort of way. But that's not the point! Where is my nurse? Don't address her unless you're willing to bring her up. And while I do enjoy this Russian ripoff, it's not my nurse. So they meet the guy who's been ripping off their show and confront him in a weird, uncharacteristic Warner fashion. Like they're ready to throw hands. Usually it's comedic over-the-top shenanigans, but these guys are gonna beat him up. He soon reveals that he not only rips them off, but rips off everybody. He rips off all of the stuff and turns it into Russia propaganda. And of course, he talks about Trump. Because how could they not bring up Trump? I mean, it's an entire episode talking about Russia and Putin. So how do they combat this Russian ripoff instead? Well, they decide to go with a quick musical number where they get one of the original composers from the show to write the score as they sing about all the ways that they could be doing things better. And I do like the fact that they did bring the Warners into my area of expertise, black and white. But when Putin himself discovers that the Warners, well, are being the Warners and not just blowing sunshine up his Russian ass, they genuinely get a good joke out of him. And he calls the Russian police in order to capture the ones responsible, which is technically their director because he was the one who's been running the show, and I'm assuming they're sending him to Brazil. Or Siberia. You know, Siberia is sort of Russian's Brazil. And so the Warners go home by, of course, sliding in another Trump joke. You know, I wonder when they're going to start doing the Joe Biden jokes in the second season. Because all the stuff they did on Trump, they could easily pull on Joe Biden. You can't honestly be telling me that we're going to My Little Pony of all fandoms. I mean, do they even have a fandom? Look, I'm not exactly thrilled about the idea either. I don't really see too many shipping opportunities in My Little Pony, but I just get paid to steer the boat. They have had 3.5 tries to get their shit together, and each and every single time has been a disappointment after the disappointment. I thought we were trying to attract a fan base, not scare them away. Look, we got one more pit stop to make before we actually make it to the island. Maybe you can convince the guy paying me to go there to not go there. Other than that, I can't help you. The second half of the episode is Pinky and the Brain. So, what's our dynamic duo doing this time? Well, Pinky is watching a little kid's YouTube video, proving once and for all that kids, unsupervised, watch YouTube. While Brain is off trying to build himself a satellite. A satellite that'll have the ability to alter the Earth's gravitational pull, causing everybody to float in space until they dictate that Brain is the ruler of the world, pretty much holding the entire world hostage. But there's one problem. He needs a power source. And the only way he was going to get that power source is via a meteorite that will crash into Earth. So going to a children's park, they find the meteor crashed into a sandbox. But before Brain could get it, it's picked up by some random kid, and then he just eats it. Not sticks it into his mouth or his pocket, he just straight up gulps it down in like one gulp. I mean, what did he think it was? I mean, I know kids about his age do weird things and put things in their mouth, but he fucking swallowed. And his parents take him away as if nothing happened. Pinky and Brain try to follow, and find that they are taken to a daycare center, where we're treated to weird imagery of children. I'm not sure what was going on with the animators in this episode, but somebody told them, make it how you feel child-free people imagine kids in their worst nightmare, and put them in this episode. That's this. That's this episode. So they managed to find the kid, but ingesting the rock seemed to give him some form of telepathic powers. Brain estimates that the longer he's exposed to the rock, the more his telepathic powers will grow. He doesn't seem to be aware of it at first, until the other kids start mob rushing him, where he uses his telepathic abilities to levitate them. Soon he discovers his all-seeing might, and pretty much takes over the daycare. Like, this is how Brain probably thinks of him. And he enslaved poor Pinky. Just look how ragged he is. He is tired. Brain is having none of this little kid's shit. So he gets into a toy car and rescues Pinky, not knowing how to deal with this tantrum-level child as he causes a hurricane of psychic energy. That's when Pinky, of all people, gets an idea. He's cranky because he's tired. He's missed nap time. And I have to respectfully disagree, Pinky. For you see, Cranky is throwing a tantrum with psychic powers and causing the tornado. But this is not Cranky. This is diabolical evil. This kid is going places, and I'm not sure we want to see which places he's going. So, they decide that the only way they can do it is by putting the kid to sleep. But Pinky is nowhere near the kid, so it's up to Brain. So Brain just does what he usually does to get Pinky to fall asleep, and recite his great genius, putting the kid to sleep. And thankfully, he spits up the rock. But before Brain has a chance to get it, he's captured by the adults. Where were they this episode? And they're given to a bunch of older kids to be dissected. Don't they usually do that with frogs? I mean, when did they switch over to mice? Or do science teachers just not care what gets cut up? Regardless, they say their classic line, and that's the episode. Gent, could you at least please try to look at things from my point of view? I mean, My Little Pony is not a fandom that's going anywhere anytime soon. We could at least look at something that looks more manly, like Transformers or G.I. Joe. Something at least that has a decent following. Wow, do you see the size of this one? Just stop talking about eggs for just 1 second and listen to me. Hey, our producer was the one who actually told us to go there. And he says that the fandom is growing in popularity recently. By like what, 5 people? No, more specifically, 5 little girls? Because that's what the fandom is made for, little girls. All the more reason for a show like us to go visit. After all, who better than a bunch of reviewers and critiques and people who make fun of things to show them the real way? Hey, Jen, don't phrase it like that, not around. He knows the way. Does he know the way? He knows the way, my brother. Do you know the way, my brother? Do you know the way? Ah, oh, Jesus Christ, look at what you just started. Come on, let's head back to the ship. We're not getting any more shopping done after this one. But all we got was eggs. They're gonna be on this shit for hours. Might as well get back to the ship before they start following us around, too. So the last part of the episode is the Warners answering questions about the episode that they just made via press conference? I'm gonna be honest, I'm not entirely sure what the joke is here. Like, is it a reference? Are they referencing something? What am I missing? I don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, they do get off a few jokes, but where's the humor? All they're doing is doing basic commentary. Hell, I provide more commentary than them. Stop stealing my thing, you suck at it. So, that was the episode. Likes, dislikes, what I think. Well, the Warners half, once again, they decided to go down the political rabbit hole. And weirdly enough, it doesn't really make much sense in context. Isn't it the Chinese that rip off everybody? I mean, hell, Gumball had an episode dedicated to them addressing the rip-off of their show that's Chinese. But they had to throw Russian in there somewhere, because with all the political slabs they've been doing, Of course they were going to bring up the whole Russia thing. Overall, the episode worked, but this political jargon is starting to get pretty old. And I find it pretty ironic that they're angry at the Russians for turning their show into political propaganda when they themselves have been doing the majority of the jokes very politically biased. Yeah, I haven't really seen too many jokes involving a certain half of the political parties, if you know what I'm saying. As far as the Pinky and the Brain, I have a feeling someone who was child-free and was told to describe the horror image of children in their mind and put it on screen, and that was the episode. I'm not entirely sure if the episode even really makes sense. I mean, gravitation beams is pretty normal stuff for Brain, but the kid just devouring it. Just one big gulp. I'm not going to question it too highly, otherwise I won't enjoy it. And I'm not even sure if the last sketch was even really that funny, or even really made sense. I'm still not entirely sure what it's addressing. But one of the biggest sins is that joke they made with Hello Nurse. I find it pretty damn hypocritical that they're willing to mock their rip-off version of Hello Nurse, but they're not even willing to even show us the original Hello Nurse to compensate. Come on. Justice for my nurse! Justice for Hello Nurse! We want to see our characters again! So I guess overall, I'm not sure if I like this episode. It was kind of voodoo. So, I guess with that being said, we're the Cartoon Gentlemen, the organizers of chaos as Vintage Kings. See you next time.
Meow, meow.
So we're actually doing this. We're going to My Little Pony.
That's right, My Little Pony. Friendship is magic, to be specific.
My little pony, my little pony, ho 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 ho.
So much the grand epic adventure you were promising. Nothing cool ever happened in My Little... Whoa! What the hell was that?
Okay, that was pretty cool.
Do you know the way? 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 Do you know the way?